I really do believe in Battle World as a game mode and kind of us continuing to iterate until we get it to a spot that we feel really great about. But I think, the next Battle World boss being Maestro is going to be a lot of fun.
What?
That's right, guys. That is official confirmation that Maestro is locked in as the next Battle World boss after Century. This is super cool. If you don't know much about Maestro, you might want to look him up. He might be the most intelligent, the most sadistic version of Hulk, and where they could lead story-wise with that character and the other characters that can come in to play with him. That's going to be pretty interesting, but that's not the only bombshell that was dropped in the strike spot that happened earlier today. So in this video, we're going to be going over a bunch of that information piece by piece so we can digest it properly. And I think we want to start with some of the other characters and teams that were talked about. They did let us know that a 2099 team is going to be coming out next year. It doesn't necessarily mean a Spider-Man 2099 team. In fact, I believe it probably means not a Spider-Man 2099 team, but maybe he'll be a rework on it. I do think we're going to see some really cool characters there, as well as the Eternals. Yes, we're going to be getting an Eternal team next year as well. So can you believe we are going to have to face off against the Icarus-Cersei duo once again? That crazy health trigger, those really punishing turn meter rewinds. That speed mechanic is a little slow these days, though. So will the new members of the Eternals boost Icarus and Cersei to actually be able to get their gimmick off? And will Hyperion meet the team? I guess we're going to find out next year, or hopefully we'll get some insight as the time approaches. But I thought most interesting was that they did confirm that we are done with the Undying team. The Undying team is in its full 5-man form now, and they're going to let that breathe at least for a bit. Ryan Jacobson did say that he has a high affinity for Marvel Zombies. I completely agree with him there. But I also agree that there needs to be room for some other cool teams to breathe. And he did mention that it's probably just going to be replaced by another spooky team. So that could be Midnight Suns. That could finally be a Werewolf by Night team. That could just be some other supernatural characters. There's a lot of different angles they could take as far as the spooky side of Marvel goes. And it looks like they're going to lead into that. But we also got some information about some reworked legendaries planned for the future. Let's go check that out.
I Am Negan asks, is there a chance that some of the old mythics and legendary characters could be buffed? Specifically talking about Doctor Doom, Morgan Le Fay, Red Hulk, Nova, Super Skrull. What's kind of the team's process on reworking some of those more major characters that we've had?
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations right now going on about some of the older legendaries and what do we want to do with them. I think Magneto, everyone knows Phoenix Force Magneto is going to come into the game next year. Really excited about that, but still it's not really fixing the old Magneto. So yeah, you will probably see some reworks of some of the older legendaries next year, which is something we're discussing right now, kind of who we would do and why. But it is one of the things that's on our agenda for next year.
All right, so I found his answer super interesting because he did not say the word mythic in his answer to the question. He just talked about legendary. So I don't think we're going to see any touch-ups to the mythical characters, which makes sense if you ask me. Odin, Mephisto, Xavier, Super Skrull, Apocalypse, those 5 are still super duper meta. Kestrel is getting the Undying form. Ultron, how the heck could you make him meta again? Just giving him, you can give him twice as much stats as the highest stat character in the game right now. He would be so easily controlled in today's meta, it just wouldn't make any sense. Dr. Doom, Dormammu, hey, believe it or not, they still get used every single war, every single crucible for the gimmicks that they bring. If they did get new stats, it would be cool. It would definitely be a stronger tool to lean into their gimmicks, but it would probably get tiresome for players to have to deal with that gimmick again for every single war and every single crucible, where right now it's kind of like, oh, that character is just going to get blown off the field. The only way they're going to be impactful is if I do a really big oopsie and I somehow tickle the Doom and he gets pushed, or if I don't kill the Dormammu. Not killing Dormammu has never been a thing. He just dies, right? So I don't think they would want to lean into that just yet. I would be curious if they ever do bring that back up, though, those characters. I think, having Dark Dimension characters be evergreen is a cool idea in theory. Maybe in PvE modes would be more interesting, though. Maybe not in PvP modes, because that puzzle would get annoying. They'd have to have every single new team would have to come in with some sort of anti-revive, some sort of ability block, or a speed bar stop, because you'd always have to make sure the new team can handle those additions, or that new team's kind of trash, right? So kind of interesting there. But let's talk about legendary characters, because we did get a lot of legendary movement this year. Invisible Woman, Phoenix, both got basically like reworked, right? Green Goblin Classic and Doc Ock, they got Insidious 6 members. They didn't technically get reworks, but they did get some members. Omega Red got the Omega Red Phoenix form variant, so definitely not anything to do with him as a character, but I think that probably means we're not going to see an Omega Red rework anytime soon. And that might not be true for Magneto, though he did talk about the original Magneto form. I think with a Magneto Phoenix Force, I don't know if they would want to rework a Magneto at that point and have two different Magneto variants in the meta. That would be awkward, but that leaves us with a lot of great options, right? Probably not Shuri, because again, we got Black Panther Shuri. Iron Man and Black Bolt both got put on the Illuminati team not too long ago, so those would be a stretch as well. Red Hulk is obviously a big question with Maestro coming. Any sort of Hulk characters probably going to see some play. I'd be super excited for Red Hulk rework. That would be absolutely terrifying. And then as far as like thematically goes, I start to struggle a little bit. Like, how can you get Morgan Le Fay back in the fray, right? That would be kind of tough. Nick Fury, what sort of team could you build around Nick Fury at this point? We already had the Secret Avengers. How many other skill teams can you really put Nick Fury on? He might be dead and gone, right? Ebony Maw, fun character, too heavily tied to Black Order to really do anything with him. Archangel, I think one of the big misses is they gave him the death, like the death look on his original skin. This is not even his original skin, but on this skin, if they gave him the Warren skin where he had the white wings and like the cut jeans, then they could have absolutely done any sort of mutant thing they wanted to do with Jubilee, Rogue, and Archangel, right? That would have been really, really clutch. Star-Lord, any sort of Guardian rework could happen. There's lots of different Guardian characters. Although he did get Star-Lord Annihilation with the Nova team. Could Nova get it? Yeah, the Nova Corps. I think there's a Nova show coming, right? So we could definitely some play with Nova, obviously heavily tied to cosmic stuff. Although I would have thought we would have seen it with the Annihilation Saga, so I guess not. Adam Warlock would have a lot of different synergies that he could lead into here. So I'm kind of looking at Red Hulk and Adam Warlock, the highest here for sure as far as my money goes. Black Cat would be a hard character to pivot into, and these other characters, they're too new. Oh my god, I don't think we'll ever see an Old Man Logan rework, guys. He's too powerful. His kit is too chocked loaded to really feed into that. Though we could see some cool costumes. And speaking of costumes, Ryan Jacobson had some interesting comments to make about costumes when he was talking about how to increase the viability of what he calls high affinity characters.
The Marvel IP is amazing, right? There's a plethora of kind of characters that people love for whatever reason, but you know, you don't really use the Spider-Mans, the Iron Mans, the Hulks, the Wolverines. Name your really what I call like a high affinity character in the game today, or you can't really use them in a great way, right, to drive great outcomes depending on what mode you're playing. Next year, we are going to really focus on bringing a lot of those characters back into the fold. We still need to fix kind of the long-term problem, though, right, which is even if, say, we do a rework of Spider-Man, he hangs around for X amount of months, he eventually will fall out of the meta again. So we have been starting to talk about, you know, costumes. Is there a world where we would like to put stats on costumes so that you could, say, have, you know, 5 Spider-Man costumes? Those are all stacking over time, and then now your Spider-Man is kind of always relevant in the game. And that is something that we're discussing. But next year, we definitely are going to put a lot of focus on trying to bring back a lot of the characters that I think people love that haven't been able to be really useful in-game for quite some time.
Whoa, there's going to be some mad people after that response. I remember when costumes rolled out, there was a portion of the community that was super adamant that they would actually hate costumes coming to the game because of stats being put on costumes in other games that they've played. And at the time, I kind of got it. Some of the games I played, a costume would come out and it would give like 2% stats, which is really nothing in our game. And so in my mind, I was like, well, look, if this is going to help them sell enough costumes to actually make creating costumes something that is profitable for them so they actually do it more often, I'd actually be all for it, because this ain't cutting it, right? So if they need to sell costumes that give 2% stats and we get costumes that are not this, I'm all for it. But that's not at all what Ryan Jacobson was talking about. Ryan Jacobson was talking basically about a new progression path for certain characters that people just love, right? Your Spider-Mans, your Wolverines. And if you had a certain amount of costumes, it would just, make them meta? At least give them meta stats? I think that is a super curious conversation. I really want to know your thoughts on it. Yeah, looking at Wolverine, he's got 4 skins. I don't know how many other characters have 4 skins. I'm gonna stop saying that now. But it's because people love Wolverine. That's why they made all these, right? They try to put him on the Weapon X team. They try and put him on the Alpha Flight team. They try to keep these characters in. We saw, Spider-Man get put onto the Web Warrior team. But if there was just some sort of special progression path for these very, very special characters that would just kind of keep them up as far as stats go in the meta, I don't think that would be bad at all, because these character kits are not very complex. Like Wolverine, he does a chain attack, he does bleeds. He does a single target nuke. Let's see, Spider-Man was another one that got a direct call out. Spider-Man does a chain attack, defense down and slow. He can do a stun, and he does lots of evades and stuff like that, right? That's not breaking the meta in any way, shape, or form. So I do think that some sort of avenue to keep these, they called it high affinity characters, keep these high affinity characters at least having meta stats at all times will not break the game. It shouldn't add too much complexity for crafting other teams that come in. Like, I don't think Spider-Man existing with like blade level stats would impact the rollout of the Brimstone team. It's just not going to happen, right? Which does also mean that just giving a character like Wolverine or Spider-Man current level stats, it's not enough to make them meta, but it might be enough that I just want to use Spider-Man somewhere. And so I'll build my Spider-Man up because I know he'll have the stats. He'll do the defense down. He might only do it in one tower, but that might be enough for me to just really enjoy having Spider-Man. And I think that's actually really cool. And I think that's enough. Now, it begs the question, how would you get these costumes, right? Is this something I'm going to have to pay for? I would hope that's not the avenue they would go down, though I guess you could, to some extent, maybe like really cheaply, like a $5 costume, right? I think that would be fine. But because they wouldn't actually impact the greater meta, I would expect it to be more something that you would earn. And especially for new players, like Spider-Man's your first character, right? It'd be something that you would earn as you progress through the game, so that first character you got, Spider-Man, grows with you throughout the entire game. Because right now, as soon as you get 5 different post-Airy stat characters, you dump Spider-Man. And that must feel really bad for the new player experience. So I actually really like the idea of a new progression system that keeps these really popular characters alive in some way, even if it is just giving them the right stats. And I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. How could it be implemented in such a way that would make you excited for such a progression system to be released? Let me know. But we got more to talk about.
Walt Millsy asks, in terms of paid offers, has there been a discussion about adding the ability to gift to Alliance members or the community?
It's funny that this comes up because this was actually a topic we talked pretty great detail about yesterday in a smaller group. Yes, we want the ability to do gifting, right? We want, say you and I are in an alliance and I really want a battle pass, but for whatever reason I can't afford one and you'd prefer to gift me one. We want you to be able to do that. We also want to try and find, as we really look at a lot of the social systems that we've kind of spoke a little bit about last time, how do we start to build some of these systems into alliances as well, right? So you can do alliance gifting, or hey, I bought an in-app purchase and then a gift goes out to the entire alliance because of that purchase. So there's a multitude of things that we've started to discuss, but yeah, we want the ability to have gifting in the game for sure.
Bro, what? Gifting? What are you doing? You know that by doing that, communities are going to be looking at their content creators to do doing giveaways right now. Okay? And that's kind of really cool. Yeah, I'm kind of into that. I'm not going to lie. I'd be really into that. For just as a selfishly as a content creator, that would be a much easier way for me to do something cool, like hold a, RTA tournament or balance draft tournament where I'm going to buy the winner a battle pass. And that'd be like really cool. And I don't have to worry about Venmo or PayPal or, different sort of countries. I just buy it with whatever my currency is and it goes straight to that player. That would be really cool from a content creating perspective. But just from like a alliance member, I'm the leader of my alliance, right? Leader. I don't really do much. But here's the perfect example. If I were to see this offer, $1, and I could spend $1. This is the cheapest offer I've ever seen in this game, by the way, for Canadian dollars, and it's for 100 L4s, which is a drop in the bucket. But if I could just send this to somebody who I know is struggling to build their teams, not because I feel the need to, but because I think that's really cool and this is cheaper than a coffee these days, I think that would just give me the warm fuzzies. It would maybe make them have the warm fuzzies, and that's really cool to me. I really like that. There is a downside to this. I don't know if I'd be able to verbalize it properly, but in short, I do think that the way he described it, like somebody buys something and then their whole alliance gets stuff, there might then start to feel an obligation from like big spenders that are in an alliance where their alliance mates know they're a big spender, and maybe that alliance is like more on the free to play side, and that wouldn't be good. Or it could just be that there's so much rewards if you're in an alliance that is spending so much. Like, what if they brought it into bang for your buck? If you spend so much money, the bang for your buck all of a sudden shoots out rewards to a bunch of your alliance mates, right? That would then start really grouping spenders together in alliances, which it's both fine and gross, right? I think that people will settle into a group that they like, and they will move to a more competitive, higher spending alliance naturally. I don't think you need to force that if that's what that player ultimately wants to do. Otherwise, I think you end up burning those players out. That's an entirely different conversation. I think it'd be really cool from my perspective on how I would use it, but if you have a different opinion on alliance gifting or just player gifting in general, let me know in the comments. And if you can verbalize it much more eloquently than I did, we could definitely discuss it in another video. But I do want to get your guys' feel on that. But we got some more stuff to talk about.
One question here from Animan, talking about the season rewards. I think specifically War, Raid, Crucible, talking about that. What do you have to say about that?
It's another topic. We actually, disclosing more information, we're having a small summit this week. That is a major topic of ours. It's just we know that we haven't really adjusted or tweaked those rewards in a long time. And for everything that our players are doing, you're not necessarily earning a ton there. So there's I think a more massive change to kind of all rewards, whether that's kind of seasonal or not, that we're discussing and talking about, and kind of making sure that when we roll that out, it feels good for kind of everyone.
All right, this is a big topic. This is a topic that people talk to me all the time about, okay? Rewards. Rewards have been flattened, and there's the theory behind flattening the rewards is solid in the sense that people are not getting as left behind. The gap between the highest end and the people that are either catching up or playing casual, it's not crazy, right? But that the severity of how they've done it has actually shut people down as far as being competitive in these game modes go. Raids is a prime example. We used to be able to get the newest progression path in raids. I believe like the main way to get Super Skrull in his Dark Dimension was actually through raid rewards, or maybe it was Mephisto. It was one of those characters, so it wasn't that long ago where raid season rewards meant so much. Now they've really restructured raids. They did a lot of things to kind of change why it would make sense to have so much stuff in there. But then you go look at War. And when I was diving into this while making this video, I gotta tell you, my jaw hit the floor like 10 times. This is probably my 4th time recording this, because it becomes like an 8-minute rant. We're gonna try and avoid that. We're gonna try to avoid that, okay? So let's look at the difference in the leaderboards and then the difference in the actual league per war stuff themselves. If you're in a top 100 alliance, you're pushing pretty hard. You are probably heavily engaged. Each war, you're probably putting in maybe an hour trying to wait to find the right team. Maybe you have to wait for advice from a captain, whatever the case may be. You're putting in a lot of time. Every 2 weeks, you might be walking away with a 15 million gold and 450 T4s. And that's great. And 15 of these ISO orbs. Garbage. All right. That's if you're in a top 100 alliance. What if you're in a top 10,000 alliance? You're getting 2.8 million gold less and 120 T4s. This is so not in line with the effort difference, right? This makes absolutely no sense. What you need to do to be in a top 100 alliance is actual time. What you need to do in a top 10,000 alliance is have a heartbeat. And that's it, right? So this is an absolutely disgusting difference to me. It's gross, but I think it's worse because right now we're just talking about gold. We're talking about gold and a couple of T4s here, okay? We're not even talking about what I would call the current meta progression, right? That's antimatter is like the current meta progression because we can buy gear tier 20 with it. Now it's kind of not the meta progression anymore because, you know, purple ISO 4 and 5 exists now. That should be purchasable with this currency, and it will be in the next store. So just bear with me with that. We're kind of in a weird transition phase right now, right? Let's go to the league info where we're actually gaining that meta progression item. So by being in a diamond alliance, the difference between winning our wars and losing our wars, 20,000 purple ions, not 4, not 5. How much would it hurt if this was 100,000 purple 4, purple 5? You know you need 500,000 to go up from 4 to 5, right? It would take 5 wars to equip one piece. 5 wars to equip. Not one character, one piece. If you were in a diamond alliance and you were winning your wars. One crystal, one upgrade from level 4 to level 5, or from 3 to 5, if it gave purple level 4 and purple level 5 at 100,000. 5 wars where you win every single war. That's 2.5 weeks of winning every single war in diamond, which is only true for the top of the top. 5 wars for one crystal. Are you telling me that that is not a reasonable carrot to put in for your war rewards? Are you? Let's look at the, you know, the most highly sought after material that is actually here. Knockouts. Doesn't matter if I win or lose. It matters which characters I knock out. I get 105 antimatter per knockout. Look at this. Okay, Plat 4 gets 100. Ooh, Plat 3 gets 100. Plat 2 gets 100. Plat 1 gets 100. Gold 4, 3, 2, and 1 gets 90. What is the difference in antimatter that I get per war? Let's say that we're only knocking out 10, okay? So if I'm knocking out 10 teams, I'm getting the difference between diamond and gold is 15. It's 5 knockouts per team. I'm taking out 10 teams, 50. 50 times 15. 750. There is a difference between 750 antimatter if you're knocking out 10 teams in diamond as opposed to gold. You get an additional 750 antimatter. If this K wasn't here, this would be really exciting. Somebody do the math for me. What is 445,000 divided by 750? Because that's how many wars I would have to knock out 10 teams in diamond gameplay to get this set 10 at 3 diamonds. This is an easier one. So if it's 750 difference, then it's 10, 3. So it's about 12 or 13 wars. If I'm in diamond over gold, I can earn an additional 40 L4 training modules. This is gross. We haven't even looked at gear tier 20. We don't even see purple ISO 4 or 5 here, right? This is gross to the grossest degree. And it really shows that the flattening of the rewards has actually led to the death of the competitive spirit for a lot of players. This is definitely something they need to look at. This should be their highest priority. I actually didn't hate when they did this, when they had the, you know, instead of having purple 4 or 5 in here, they would give you antimatter. You can go buy purple 4 and 5, right? If purple 4 or 5 was in the store. This is because when they did this, it was for gear tier 20. I didn't hate that. I didn't realize how indistinguishable the amount was compared to where you played. Because let's be very realistic. Getting 10 knockouts in a gold war versus getting 10 knockouts in a diamond war, that's a different thing. And let's be really honest here. When you're facing off against diamond alliances, You may only be able to do 10 teams because you still have to have some sort of defense set up, or your alliance is going to be like, what the hell are you doing, right? So you may only be able to do 10 teams. When you're in a gold alliance, you can maybe do 14 attacks. 4 times 90 is 360. So we can take the 360 off of that 750 difference. You see what I'm saying? It's not okay. Now, I understand why they do that, but that should be saved for a different video. We've already in 7 minutes into this diatribe. So we're just going to leave it here. Let me know your thoughts on how they've flattened rewards and what they would need to do if you're not a competitive person, what they would need to do as far as rewards go to make you want to compete, to make you want to push from gold 1 to gold 4, even between just gold 1 and gold 4. That's a long time to climb from there to there, and there is literally zero difference in the most highly contested materials. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. All right, this video kind of ran long because I got a little bit too into it here. Let's just go kind of list out the other stuff they talked about and give you the sitch. All right, guys, we'll wrap this up pretty quickly here. There was some other stuff that was talked about. I think we hit the most interesting stuff, so we're just going to kind of go rapid fire here. No expectations. There's not going to be another alliance-wide null battle world. Instead, they're going to remove that boss fight from the battle world structure, put it into some sort of individual structure. And when can you expect that? Soon. So we have no idea. Blastar thoughts. They think Blastar is performing where they want him to. They think Quasar outperformed that. That's probably only true because they see all the data. If you're a top 25% player, when you try and use Blastar, there's probably 4 rooms that all have anti-speed bar, and without the speed bar, he's trash. But because they see everybody, I bet they see Blastar being gangbusters, used in kind of those lower brackets of CC, and thus he's a success in their books. Let me know your thoughts on that. Crucible and War room counts. It was asked, have you ever thought about adding more Crucible and War rooms because we have so many characters and it's kind of stale, you know, the offensive defense balance is kind of out of whack right now in both of those game modes? The answer was, yeah, we'd love to do that, but we would have to tie it behind leagues and we don't have that technology yet. They would love to maybe have 8 rooms in Grandmaster Crucible, but they don't want 8 rooms in, you know, Silver Crucible because that's for new players. And when a new player unlocks that game mode, if they have 8 rooms to fill instead of 6, that can be very jarring. They already have to do that in War when 10 rules are up, right? But even then, if you're a mid-game player and you have, you know, 12 teams built up for Crucible right now, if they add 2, you still have to build 4 more teams now, 2 for offense, 2 for defense. And that is a huge, huge issue. So they did that 4 years ago, if you remember. If you were here, you know, right? They added 2 rooms to War. We went from 8 to 10. At the time, I was a mid-game player. That felt horrible. So I'm glad that they learned the lesson from that. Hopefully they'll build the technology that they can actually add it into leagues. I think that would be definitely the best situation. Shop credits and the legacy store. Yes, so this is an issue that is a top priority for them. He called it a P0 priority, which means it's number 1. The legacy store is set to hit our game on November. I don't know when in November, sometime in November. And that is going to destroy the Blitz store, the Raid store, the Arena store, the Crucible store, and I guess the Battle World store. And all those things that we would buy from those stores is going to be put into one banner, the legacy store. Before that happens, they got to figure out the shop credit economy. It is currently out of whack. If you spent all of your shop credits on, I don't know, the Blitz Gold Orb, you may not be able to get all your award tax in anymore. It's kind of an issue, and if they didn't have a promo code giving 100,000 of it away, your alliance would be clowning you right now. That's me. The web playable is active for a lot of soft launch countries. It's going to be going to global release as long as nothing goes horribly wrong on October 22nd, which will be next week. So you guys in the States and us guys up here in Canada will be able to play on the official Marvel Strike Force website instead of using the emulators if you are a PC player. They do have new game modes in development, but they didn't really go into it. Kind of interested to see what they would do with that. I think the game really needs some new sort of gameplay style. So I'm always interested when they're playing around with new game modes. For me, for whatever it's worth, I think that the quickest, dirtiest, most interesting game modes they can come up with is a tower mode that runs for the duration of a patch. If there is a Crucible team coming out, it is a Crucible tower, where all the teams in this tower have their Crucible stuff turned on, right? And obviously we would need put in a bunch of Crucible teams in there. Maybe you could have different room rules that affect 5 floors in a row, something like that. And you would do the same thing for War with War teams when it was a War patch. Like right now is the Brimstone team. It would be a War tower. I think that would be the coolest thing that they could do, and it could run for the entire patch, and instead of having a leaderboard attached to it, you just have milestone rewards in there, and you make it really hard. I think it'd be fun. And then they talked about some things that they talk about every time. You know, DPC characters are not put into the diamond store fast enough. Their awakened materials don't get there fast enough. And we got the same answer we got last time. Yeah, we know we kind of suck at that, and we're still working on it, but nothing was done, right? We have a Marvel Strike Force original character that is in the works. They want to make some changes to Arena, but it is low on their priority. And yeah, somebody asked about challenges. Why aren't we getting more challenges? Can we stop asking that, guys? Challenge is something that you do one time and then you hit sim. What we should be asking for is for them to delete challenges and put those gold and trading material rewards elsewhere, because it's like 6 extra buttons you have to click every single day for these things that are just garbage. They're a one-time use, and then we never engage with them again. It's garbage. Just put those rewards somewhere else. Get rid of challenges altogether, I think. Let me know your thoughts on that and everything we talked about in this video. We're going to end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought about the strike spot if you watched it in its entirety. And if you didn't and you saw what I talked about, please let me know what you think about the costumes, about the flattening of rewards, and about Maestro? Big Daddy Hulk coming to Battle Royale 3. All right, guys, have yourselves an amazing, amazing day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye for now.